So, students, now we will talk about teeth histology, microscopic structure of teeth. And let's look at main parts of tooth. Here we can see dentine, hard tissue of tooth. Also, it's covered with enamel. It has cementum, and inside the tooth we have pulp. Pulp contains blood vessels, and also it contains nerves, and it forms inner cavity of tooth. So we have four tissues of tooth. We have enamel, dentine or dentine, and cementum, and also we have pulp. There are tissues of teeth, and also tooth has anatomical parts. It's crown, neck, and root. There are three basic anatomical parts of teeth. And also we have a supportive apparatus of teeth which maintains teeth, and it includes bone, alveolar bone. It includes um, teeth ligament, dental ligament, which maintains tooth and the alveolar bone, and also it includes gums or gingiva. And gums, dental ligament or periodontum and alveolar bone together, they are called parodontum. Parodontum is the complex of tissues which maintain the tooth. Uh, and here we can see epithelium of gingiva. So there are main tissues which maintain the teeth at supportive apparatus of teeth. And here we can see histological sections of teeth, and we can see appearance, and there are hard tissues, enamel, dentine, and cementum. Enamel covers the crown, and cementum it covers the roots, and dentine it is found in both in crown and in the roots. And here we have pulp cavity. It's filled with pulp. It's soft tooth tissue. So tooth tissues are divided into dense and soft. Dense, it's enamel, the hardest one, the densest one. It's the most mineralized tissue and the densest tissue in our body. Next, it's dentine or dentine, and also cementum. Cementum, it has the smallest density between all those tissues. And also we have soft tissue. It's called pulp. It's loose fibrous connective tissue, but also there are some special features of this pulp. So we'll begin from hard tissues, and here we can see tissues of tooth. Here we can see section of tissues of tooth crown. It's enamel, outermost layer. Next, it's dentine or dentine, and its peripheral zone of pulp. So we'll begin from the hardest tissue, from enamel. Enamel covers the crown of tooth, and it has the highest degree of mineralization. About 98% of minerals are present in the enamel. So what is the structure of enamel? The structural and functional unit of enamel is enamel prism. Here we can see numerous enamel prisms which are attached to each other. Here we can see enamel prisms, and here we can see their shape. They have S-like shape, and they are very closely attached to each other. And each enamel prism is produced by individual cell, which is called enameloblast. Those prisms, they are produced during embryonic period, during odontogenesis. And enameloblasts, they form prisms. Each prism is a way of the enameloblast. So each enameloblast or ameloblast produces own prism, and it has wavy direction. It has S-like direction in the enamel, and after the formation of enamel, enameloblasts or ameloblasts, they die during tooth eruption. So in adulthood and after the tooth eruption, enamel hasn't cells. It's acellular tissue, but it contains enamel prisms which form matrix of enamel. And here we can see enamel prisms. They are mineralized. They have organic matrix and also numerous minerals. And also this S-like direction of enamel prisms, it provides very close attachment of enamel prisms to each other. And here we can see enamel prisms, and in the crown of tooth we can see tangential lines which follow the surface of tooth, and also we can see here radial lines. And radial lines, they are called Unterschläger bands. We can see them here. They are formed as a result of different directions of enamel prisms. They have S-like direction, and this localization of enamel prisms, it results in the formation of Unterschläger bands. They have radial direction. And also there are radius lines. They follow the surface of enamel. We can find them here. They have tangential direction. And those radius lines, they correspond to periods of mineralization of enamel during formation. It's during odontogenesis. So there are radius lines. They correspond to periods of mineralization. And also enamel contains different less mineralized regions, and they are called enamel spindles, enamel tufts, and enamel plates. What are they? Enamel spindles are places where processes of odontoblasts enter in the enamel. They are located near the enamel-dentine junction, and in some cases, long processes of odontoblasts, they enter in the enamel, and they are visible there as enamel spindles, processes of odontoblasts. Also, we have enamel tufts, less mineralized areas near the enamel-dentine junction. Enamel tufts, they are present here, and also there are enamel plates. They pass through all thickness of enamel. They are like enamel tufts, but they are bigger. So why you should know those regions? They are less mineralized regions of enamel, and they are places where caries may begin to develop. And when teeth contain a lot of those structures, formation of cavities inside teeth, it's more possible when enamel has a lot of less mineralized regions. Next, hard tissue of tooth, it's dentine or dentine. It's located under the enamel. It forms crown and roots of teeth. And dentine, it contains own cells. There are odontoblasts or dentinoblasts. Their bodies are located under the dentine. They are located in their peripheral zone of pulp, and their processes pass through all thickness of dentine. Their processes were attached to the enamel early in histogenesis and odontogenesis, and all the thickness of the dentine is newly produced by odontoblasts. They produce new layer of dentine and make a step inside the pulp towards the pulp. And here we can see thick layer of dentine, and new dentine is produced during entire life. So cell bodies are located in the pulp, and dentine, it contains alive structures. They are processes of odontoblasts. So cells are called odontoblasts, or they are called dentinoblasts or dentinocytes. They produce dentine, matrix of dentine. They are located in the dentine tubules. Here you can see tubules, they have radial directions, and they are located under the enamel. And here we can see tubules, and these odontoblasts, and they have long processes which enter in the dentine tubules, and also some nerve endings, sensory nerve endings, may enter here, and its sensory function. And in some cases, for example, when there is a resident gingiva, or when enamel is broken, those dentine tubules are open, and it's exposed dentine. And different food, when you eat some cold or some sweet, it may irritate nerve endings and it causes pain in teeth because of exposed dentine. And sensitive function is provided by those dentine tubules because there are nerve endings and processes of odontoblasts. And here we can see those tubules of dentine and processes of odontoblasts are present there. And we can see exposed dentinal tubules in resident gingiva, for example, in parodontosis, or when enamel is broken. And here we can see dentine tubules, and they are surrounded with matrix and different directions of fibers. Collagen fibers are present here. So this matrix is very similar to the matrix of bony tissues. There are collagen fibers, and they are mineralized. And there are some regions of dentine according to the localization. We have pretubular dentine or dentine. It surrounds processes of odontoblasts, it's pretubular dentine. And also between the tubules, we have intertubular dentine or dentine. It's the matrix which fills the spaces between tubules. In green shade, we can see here peritubular, and in pink shade, it's intertubular dentine. Two kinds of dentine. According to their localization. It's the first classification, and today we'll have some classifications of dentine. First, it's peritubular and intertubular dentine. Peritubular surrounds tubules. Intertubular is located between the tubules. Also, another localization. Non-mature dentine, it's called predentine or predentine. It's located near the pulp. It's a newly produced dentine. Also, we have circumpulpar dentine, which is located near the pulp, or peripulpar dentine, deep dentine, and also we have mental dentine. Mental dentine is located under the enamel, and it has radial direction of collagen fibers, and circumpulpar dentine is located deeper, and it's younger according to the age. It's newly produced dentine. And the newest dentine, it's predentine, which is located near the pulp. And new layers of dentine are produced during entire life of tooth. So we have three regions of tooth: mental, circumpulpar, and predentine, and they have different direction of collagen fibers. In mental dentine, we have coarse fibers. They have radial directions, and von Ebner fibers, they are located deeper in circumpulpar dentine. They have tangential direction, which follows the surface of dentine and tooth. So here we can see distribution of fibers, collagen fibers in different regions of tooth. And one more classification. So we have already two classifications: peritubular, intertubular dentine, mental, circumpulpar dentine, and predentine. And third classification, it's according to the mineralization of dentine. We have globular dentine, well mineralized, and also we have non-mineralized regions or less mineralized regions in dentine. It's interglobular dentine. In those regions, dentine has less minerals, and also it may be place of beginning of caries formation. And in the roots, it forms the Tom's granular layer of dentine, interglobular dentine. It's located in the roots. And fourth classification of dentine is about time of development of dentine. According to the time, we have primary dentine is formed before birth and before tooth eruption. Secondary dentine is located deeper and it's formed after tooth eruption and after birth. And tertiary dentine is formed as response to tooth damage when we have tooth injury. odontoblasts, they respond to this injury and they try to replace this damaged region of tooth, and they produce tertiary dentine. That's why after the treatment, material which replaces the cavity, for example, after caries treatment, dentists they apply some material to replace damaged tissues of tooth, and tooth surrounds this material with tertiary dentine, which helps to maintain tooth structures and those material inside the tooth. Its tertiary dentine is produced as a response to the damage, to the injury of tooth. And also there are imbrication lines of von Ebner and contours lines of Owen. They are similar to reticulus lines in the enamel, and they correspond to the periods of mineralization of dentine. And when, for example, when child or adult has had different periods of malnutrition or something else, different severe diseases, we have here thick lines, less mineralized lines in the dentine, and we can say that in some period of life this human has had different diseases or different causes which have caused less mineralization of dentine. So those lines they correspond to the periods of dentine mineralization. And also we can find here in the neonatal line, which correspond to the period of birth. Before birth, new old dentine was produced, is located under the enamel, and after the birth, we have newly formed dentine, and they are separated by neonatal line. And next structure of tooth is soft tissue and its pulp. So we are going to histology of pulp. It forms cavity, so there is pulp cavity, it's cavity inside the crown, and also there are canals inside the roots, and all those cavities are filled with pulp. Pulp is formed by loose fibrous connective tissue, and also it contains blood vessels and nerves. And also pulp contains cell bodies of odontoblasts, which processes are located in dentine. And pulp, it has three layers. Peripheral layer or peripheral zone, it's called odontoblastic layer, which contains cell bodies of odontoblasts. Next, deeper zone, it's cell-free zone. It's loose fibrous connective tissue, which is free of cells. And the central zone is cell-rich zone, which contains numerous fibroblasts, and also blood vessels, nerves are present here. And here we can see pulp, there are blood vessels, nerves, and also cell bodies of odontoblasts are found here in the peripheral zone. And we can see age changes of pulp and dentine which occur during our life. You know that odontoblasts, they continue producing new dentine, and they are moving to the central regions of pulp, and pulp becomes to be smaller and smaller. Pulp cavity and dentine thickness becomes to be bigger and bigger, and cell bodies of odontoblasts, they are moving to the central zones of the pulp cavity. And that's why in children, cavities as a result of caries, they achieve the pulp cavity earlier than in adults, because thickness of the fall of the tooth is smaller in children than in adults. But in adults, we can see here thinning of enamel as a result of mastication. And here we can see age changes in the pulp. Pulp becomes to be smaller and smaller, and thickness of dentine increases because of production of new dentine. And in some cases, there are tooth stones or dentine inclusions or denticles. They are found inside the pulp. Dentine may be present inside the pulp, and these structures, they may cause irritation of nerves inside the pulp, and pain in teeth is caused by presence of tooth stones, may be caused. But usually pain in teeth is caused by caries and irritation of processes of odontoblasts in the dentine, and also inflammation of pulp, and it causes irritation of nerve endings here. But one extra cause of the pain in teeth, it's presence of tooth stones. And the last tissue of tooth is cementum, which covers the roots of teeth. Here we can see cementum. Crown is covered with enamel, and cementum, it covers the roots. And cementum also is hard tissue, but it has the smallest degree of mineralization, from 50 to 70%. In different sources, you can find this information from 50 to 70%. And it's very close in the structure to bony tissue. And also it has cells. There are young cells, cementoblasts, which are like cells of bones. They are osteoblasts in the bones, and in cementum there are cementoblasts, and also mature cells in bone. We have osteocytes, and in cementum we have cementocytes, which are surrounded with matrix. They surround themselves with matrix, and they are located in the lacuna. So cementoblasts and cementocytes may be described as a kinds of osteoblasts and osteocytes. They are very related to them, but they are present in cementum of tooth. And we have two kinds of cementum. It's primary and secondary. Primary cementum is acellular because cells, they produce matrix and then they surround themselves with matrix, and that's why secondary cementum is cellular, because it contains the cells. Cells have produced matrix, some amount of cementum, and it's primary acellular, and after that they surrounded themselves with matrix, and it results in the formation of the secondary cementum, which is cellular. And we have discussed structures and tissues of teeth, and also we have supportive tissues, supportive structures which maintain the teeth. And those tissues and structures are called parodontum. And I think you know about the disease which is called parodontosis. It's destructive changes in the parodont. And parodontum, which includes three components, it's periodontum, or tooth ligament, dental ligament, alveolar bone, and gums or gingiva. So here we can see tooth, and it's maintained by some structures. First of all, it's bone, it's alveolar bone. Next, it's ligament, bone ligament. It's connective tissue which contains collagen fibers, and those fibers are perforated. They begin in the dentine and they end in the bone, so they pass through this gap between tooth and bone. It's periodontum or tooth ligament. It contains different fibers. They are radial fibers and fibers which surround the neck of tooth, circular ligament of periodontum. And also we have gums. They contain lamina propria, connective tissue, and epithelium. It's gums or gingiva. It's masticatory type of oral mucosa. Here we can see gums. It's bone and periodontum. Together they are called parodontum. So parodontum includes periodontum, alveolar bone, and gums. And here you can see periodontum, and it's a ligament, tooth ligament, which maintains the tooth in the alveolar bone, and there are fibers which begin in the bone and they are continued in the dentine. And here you can see tooth root, it's dentine, it's cementum, and there are fibers of periodontum and its bony alveolar bone, and this gap between tooth and alveolar bone is filled with connective tissue, and also it contains numerous fibers which attach tooth to the bone. So it's periodontum, which maintains the teeth inside the bones. So, students, we have discussed histological structure of teeth, main tissues of teeth, and that's all. Thank you for your attention.